Hey everyone, welcome to the Discover Virginia podcast. I'm Joseph Trahan, your host for the #1 video podcast in Virginia, where we explore the rich history, vibrant culture, and iconic businesses that make our Commonwealth truly special and worth talking about. So get ready as together we discover Virginia. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Discover Virginia podcast. We have one of our best and very first impromptu conversations. Benjamin Jacob, one of our family friends, and I were just chatting and hanging out, and we had a really great conversation. And I was like, hey, how do we as grown adults who work in different industries talk and still do life together? We jump on a podcast episode. So Benjamin, welcome to the Discover Virginia podcast.
Thank you. This is, I've always wanted to do one of these, but be gentle. It's my first time.
Lovely, lovely. Well, we definitely want to cover your life here in the Virginia area as we ask every guest on the show. What got you to Virginia Beach? And if you're already here, what got you to stick around and build your life and business here?
Yeah, one of the things we really love about Virginia Beach is just that sense of community. I love being able to go to the rec centers. My wife is a huge fan of the libraries, and just that really sense the schools are amazing. And I just feel like, I walk across the street to my grocery and I see those same people every day, and I just really feel that sense of connection and community here. And that was really important to me. I moved away as a kid, and now it's been really great to come back here and build my life.
Yeah, love it. It's also a great place to, if you live close to waffle fries, you can get them as quickly as you need to, right?
Yeah, I think that's the famous line from Justin Timberlake, his review of Hampton Roads, right? It's just Chick-fil-A's and strip malls. So lots of those things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Drew Barrymore also shouted us out. She was coming through Virginia. She just yelled, "I love Virginia," which is
almost our slogan.
Almost
Virginia is for lovers. She got close.
She made a second one. It was really weird how she said it. I didn't want to repeat it on air. But Drew Barrymore, if you're ever available, love to have you on the show.
And clarify those comments.
Yes, clarify those comments, please, because the comment section really needs to know. When it comes to modern day life now you have a family, you've moved back to Virginia Beach. You're now the director of professional development and oversee a lot over at the St. Mary's hospital based here in Norfolk, right?
Yeah, so not a hospital.
Not a hospital.
Yeah, it's a home. And I think that's one of the really special things about it. We do provide complex medical care for the individuals who live there. There's about 100 individuals who live there, 14 or so adults, up to 86 kids who are living there with complex medical issues. But we really try to provide that home-like environment. Yeah. So I think a lot of people are like, hospital, what in the world? Yeah, we've got a lot of nurses. We've got physical therapists. We've got occupational therapists. We've got speech therapists. We've got recreational therapists. So we've got a lot of therapies. We've got an incredible nursing team. We've got respiratory therapists. We've got individuals with tracheostomies. So the full gamut of complex medical issues, but at the heart of it, unlike CHKD or these other places, we're trying to foster a vibrant life for people. So these individuals are going out to schools, and they go out to schools in their home district. So even though Norfolk is where they would live, they're going to school in Virginia Beach. They're going to school in Norfolk. They're going to school in Chesapeake and in Suffolk and all across Hampton Roads. So we're really trying to get them out in the community and really living that life on a day-to-day basis. And the medical conditions, we're there. Most of them are, for lack of a better term, chronic medical conditions. Sure. So we can't necessarily cure them, but we can definitely deal with some of the symptoms and support them to have a really rich life.
Yeah, I love that. Life shouldn't just stop just because you need medical care, right?
Yeah, or that you have, right. So life shouldn't stop because you have medical care. That's a really great way to say it. And life shouldn't just stop because you have a medical condition.
Right, yeah. Like you said, even if it's quote, non-curable, okay, well, then we need to create those opportunities like you all make for them to be able to continue to live and to work and hopefully one day, have their own lives out in the community as well.
Absolutely.
Wow. So fostering St. Mary's home and then also having a home of your own with, I know you got a couple kiddos now and you guys really enjoy hanging out in the Virginia Beach area. What are some go-to spots that you all enjoy as a family maybe partaking in, aside from, the wonderful spots Chick-fil-A and Mountain Trashmore Park? Any hidden gems or fun things to be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I'll give you my number one right now. Number one on my list, and we're kind of obsessed with this right now, get lost. in Virginia Beach. It is a Hawaiian shaved ice place. Took my son there for his birthday. He loved it. They have this, it's a very small little place down at the oceanfront, but they have this incredible little room out back with a swing and everything back there indoors. And he absolutely loved that. Had a great time with him. And then last night, a couple of nights ago, my wife and I were on a date and we were coming back and I was like, we should stop there.
Yeah.
Stop there, get the ice. We're eating it, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, there's ice cream in the center of this shaved ice. This is the best thing ever. And they do the Hawaiian shaved ice is not just that regular shaved ice. You've got that beautiful flavor, and they use all fresh fruit. And then right there at that center, they have that delicious, delicious ice cream.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that hot outside, and it's still good. It's good all year round. And yeah, shout out to the folks over there at Get Lost.
Yeah,
and, love it.
Get Lost. Shout out. Thanks, Stephanie, for everything you're doing with you and your husband out there. Hope you guys are doing well. But yeah, they I think they recently opened it, and they've just been killing it. I got to bump shoulders with Stephanie. She's a great business owner and a great colleague in her past career lives. And so super pumped for what they're doing. Thanks for sharing that. Great tip. When it comes to, maybe, let's say some outdoor recreation activities, maybe something outdoors that the kiddos, or maybe you and the wifey might like to do to maybe keep the romance going. What are some fun spots to check out here in the Virginia Beach area?
Yeah, one of the things that we really have enjoyed is the skate park over on Providence. That's a really nice skate park, and that we've really enjoyed that compared to the one at Mount Trashmore. That one's great. It's got some of the big features, and a lot of like the hardcore skaters skate there.
Yeah,
But
intense. It's intense.
It's intense, and they've got the big giant vert from when I was a little kid there.
Yeah, and my bones are not that strong as like a 12-year-old or kid that can just grow theirs back overnight. So.
Yeah, this is a real, speaking of somebody who does like safety and works in that whole world, I do not understand why they build skate parks out of solid concrete. This is like the worst possible.
It's what Tony Hawk would have wanted, Ben.
No, this is the crazy thing. I just saw an interview with Tony Hawk, and he's like, no. I skate only verticals now because they're made out of wood. All of these cement skate parks, way too hard. I'm too old. These metal rails, I can't skate them anymore.
Well, thanks for setting the record straight.
Yeah,
Tony Hawk said it. Destroy it. Build the wooden verticals.
Yeah, and they still have the one. But
yeah.
To your point about the old bones, my kids out there, even young bones, are like, why is this whole thing solid cement and steel? This is the worst, dumbest thing of all time. And yet every city does it. It's not Virginia Beach's problem. Like, this is like the universal design of these things. And it's like, yeah, and only a city could build that because any sort of private industry that did that, the liability would be enormous.
Yeah,
and they just can't do it.
So Eva and Karma over at Karma Skate Shop, help me out here. We got to be able to like get these wooden verticals up and around our adult skater community out there who we had on the show featured as well. Help us out because these bones can't take the concrete.
Yeah, and maybe we're just pansies, okay? The lack of tattoos and piercings. She may look at me and like, stick to the rollerblades, old man, and just do the
nothing
do the
wrong
laps.
with quad skates, Benjamin. You don't put yourself at that level. But quad skates are the same, just a little different, trajectory.
I'm a '90s kid. I'm inline skates all the way. We're doing rollerblades.
I'm all about the stickers, man, because I can put them on my computer and kind of like hope for that, after work or if I have any free time.
Yeah,
yeah. So, business. What is the business of St. Mary's home, and what does like an average day look like for you? Because you're running your home at home, right, and then you go to this other home, and you focus on this really, really unique job that I'd love for you to define professional development. What does it look like to develop professionals within the St. Mary's community, and how does that look like for you? Like being in this home environment for almost your entire day.
Yeah, first of all, it's amazing. Love the home environment. I love working with kids. I love the energy of that. We have a lot of fun. In fact, we were actually going through our core values at St. Mary's, and we did all these surveys and just came back that one of our core values is fun. That like one of the things that when we're building projects and we're doing stuff, it needs to be interesting and engaging. We do, Halloween's coming up. We'll have a big trunk or treat it's open to the community. People can come see it on our Facebook page. But even internally, people are wearing costumes on Halloween to work and those kind of things. So it's that home fun environment really does motivate me a lot.
Yeah.
And is really, really great. And I love the individuals who live there. And I think the great thing about getting older is that everybody's a kid. And so I want to be careful because we do have young adults who are there. You know, we've got some 25-year-olds,
Sure.
you know, some people who are there. And we also got some little toddlers, right? So you've got, got the young ones who are running around. So when you do talk about the kids, you know, some of them are in high school. They don't always appreciate being called kids. So we'll,
Right. Yeah.
the children and young adults that are there. But that's great. So yeah, professional development is really something that I think, and I'd be really interested to kind of talk to some of these other business leaders that are coming in. And this is this need that we have to grow the workforce.
Yeah.
There seems to be a generational gap, and maybe there's some labor history professors who would want to correct the timeline. But the way I would understand it is that you have enormous development of the American workforce that is going to take place, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s. Jobs are changing. The internet is coming along. Politically, as some of these jobs are changing, there's a lot of money for like retraining workers as automation comes along and these things happen. You see that all taking place and growing employees. Unions do a lot of this work. So union schools are a big deal. You see like the apprentice school over at the shipyard would be a great example of this. You see all of this kind of like workforce development that happens. And then when the financial collapse happens around 2008, and jobs start going overseas, this is one of the first things that gets absolutely obliterated in the American thing. So HR departments get cut, learning and development, talent development, all of this goes away. And then really the only talent that is really taking place is overseas. So, there's some movies about this as like American trainers go over and teach Indians like American English in order to do this stuff. And so as the jobs go, the American workforce kind of stagnates for 8 to 9 years where there's very little development that takes place inside companies. So then all of a sudden you have like the millennial generation who at that time is like in their mid-20s. Now all of a sudden they're in their 30s. People are starting to retire and companies are like, oh my gosh, how are we going to train the next generation? How are we going to develop these leaders? These big companies aren't doing it anymore. People aren't getting this. How are we going to do this? And they're like, oh yeah, in the past, companies had these departments. It's very challenging. It's very expensive. It takes a long time, and it's not always guaranteed. And so to St. Mary's credit, they have really invested in their workforce. And so I came on in 2019. I was going from a pretty demanding job as the associate director over at Union Mission, running their youth and family services program. And I thought, man, I'm going to have a chill job. I'm just going to teach them people. I don't have to work with the kids.
You get to wear jeans.
I get to wear jeans. This is going to be great. I don't have to do the work anymore. I just get to tell other people how to do the work. So that was November of 2019.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened. And it has been a wild, wild ride through that time. And so, COVID hit us very hard. We had to, we kept operating through that. So everybody talks about like working from home. That was never our experience. In fact, I still have a letter where the HR director wrote up that I was supposed to hand to the police at a checkpoint because I was an essential employee. And so I was supposed to be able to come into work. So every day we're coming in. We don't have the equipment to, we don't have the N95 masks. So our sewing department, which normally makes the clothes and modifies the clothes for the kids, had made these cloth masks. And they had figured out that if you took a shop filter, like a shop towel, and put it inside of it, you could create your own like handmade N95. So we're making these things. Wow. We're putting them on our face. We're wearing these. Yeah, it was a wild time, right? So we're just innovating through all of this and terrified for the kids. We're getting all this information. And now, again, we learned that like not all of it was as reported, but like nursing homes are like getting these huge amounts of deaths. These kind of residential living facilities are the most dangerous places. So we're panicked.
Sure. Because these are kids at risk, right?
These are kids these are kids who already have compromised immune systems, right? And then the government says their parents can't come see them, right? So the governor says, boom, no visitors, 0 visitors. Like one day you just get an email and say, hey, you can't see your kid anymore. That's it. Game over. And we're going to shut you down if you do. And so lots of really difficult things. The labor force was really crazy during that time. And credit, she's the CEO now, but a number of people who worked there, but, Shannon, who was my supervisor at the time, and a number of the other leaders every day just overcoming and just rode those waves for, it didn't end. The emergency order didn't end until 2023, and so we rode that wave through that. And And to their credit, they didn't stop the leadership development. So we had this great partnership with TCC through their workforce development program where our managers would go there and get trained. And you talk about a crazy story. We get in there. So we're in this big auditorium in the Roper. Everything is set up. And then that room is not COVID accessible. So the dean comes and she's like, look, you got to move this class. So I have 23 managers in the organization. I've been there a very short time. A lot of them didn't want to come because they were scared of getting COVID, plus an instructor. And now I'm just walking them down Brambleton Avenue to another room at the head of this line. And they're just staring daggers. They were very sweet. They're very good people. Shout out all of them as you listen to this pod. I love you guys, but I felt the heat, okay? And I also felt my own heat. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, you're just, again, like, you just set the class up. You got the instructor.
There's
you got
no
the staff.
rules. There's no playbook
There
here.
is no
this
rules.
Isn't in the manual. This isn't in the manual.
This is it. So we're just rolling it, man. And so we just keep showing up and just keep showing up and just keep showing up. And I think that was like one of the big lessons of that whole time period is, man, you can do a lot. And development is never easy. It's never easy to develop your people. And man, so many of those managers, they're still with us. They're still doing it. And and I think the organizational commitment to grow your people during that time and just keep showing up, man, it's really impressive. So yeah, I do all the new hire orientation. We hire about 100 people a year, about 10 people a month. So we were doing that. We do the leadership development. We do a lot of really unsexy compliance training. We're a heavily regulated industry. So handle all that kind of stuff. And then also do like, as we get new equipment and those kind of things, work with the subject matter experts to create all of that content. So yeah.
What a wild ride. I mean,
unbelievable.
COVID, and that was even since like our first podcast episode we started, filming in 2023, that just seems to be like a common theme for everyone, different stories and experiences of how COVID impacted their journey and their life here in Virginia Beach. And yet we prevailed, we pursued, and, we recognized that, it wasn't always the same story for everybody. But as you alluded to, Ben, there was this opportunity that St. Mary's saw and that many industries might not recognize, and that's the importance of continuing to train and develop individuals, regardless of the season, right? It seems like if something bad happens, your shareholders are upset, you cut your advertising spend first, right? Your marketing people, your HR people, and as you alluded to, your training as well. What do you think that does to an organization that doesn't see the value in team development in the long-term scale of continuing to, when it gets expensive or it gets uncertain, to cut people, to cut marketing and kind of strap in with the people you have next to you?
Yeah, so you got a couple of different angles that you're going with this. And one is, I think that companies need to be careful on how they grow. Simon Sinek says the only thing in nature that has uncontrolled growth is cancer. So part of this, we do this to ourselves, and we do it because we as a manager, we're like, ooh, I could hire 2 more people this year, right? And now I got these 2 minions, and now my team can do stuff. And right, so it's ego driven, and that kind of thing happens. And you also want to do more, right? So you can produce more, you do more. So I think you really need to have like a strategic plan and really need to be focused, because that rapid expansion, that these things go in cycles. They go up, they go down. The revenue goes up, it goes down. And so if you don't want to just like boom hire and then fire everybody, make it strategic. Make these things sustainable so that especially your support departments, which are going to they're not revenue generators, they're cost centers. Don't rapidly grow those things. Don't overexpand those departments so that then you don't have to smash them later. Yeah. And then honestly, the other thing is here's the thing. If you want to sell the tree for the wood, cut out the roots. It'll work, right? And this is we see this a lot. You and I were talking about this the other day, where it's you can build a business and sell the business, and if the business collapses later, you're like, I made my money.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I think that's a great local example too, with the game chain roll with it, right? Yeah. Would you mind recapping that?
Yeah, and I don't want to put people's business out there, but that's what the listeners want, right? They want that juicy inside story.
It's local, it's very niche, and it's about local business and how one business owner decided to, instead of investing in a community, decided to cash out and the impacts of that. Right?
Yeah, and you should have him on the pod, right? I don't want to tell his story. Quan is an incredible human being, and he's here. So again, I don't want to put I would really like to talk to him about it, right? Like, and hear his side, because like this is just for me as somebody who loved going to roll with it, seeing that community and love that kind of thing. And maybe he's heartbroken over it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so like, he just built that business. He started it during COVID. He was there all the time. I mean, he's an incredible, was an incredible human. And from everything that I heard from his workers, an incredible boss, incredible leader, which
absolutely.
is another thing that I just really admire, because a lot of people are good practitioners, but they suck as leaders. He seemed to have really cared about that, and really, as a millennial leader, put his money where his mouth is, right? Like maybe frontline employees are not getting paid as much, had the tipless cafe, was dividing that revenue with the employees, and was really
which is huge in Virginia Beach, by the way, because with our retail sectors and traditional restaurant setup, that's not the common theme you see throughout, right? You get a check, you input your tip, or you go through the drive-through and they ask you what you want to tip, right?
Yeah, and so he was really changing that. So like again, like incredible human being, and then he got the offer to sell his business, sold it to Shoots and Lattes, that big chain out of Canada. They then have this moment where they fire all the employees, and if you go on their subreddits, shout out subreddits, their shareholders are like, why do we keep doing this? And we keep buying these businesses, and then it doesn't work out. So even in that, you're just like, do you have people who know how to do mergers and acquisitions, right? Or are we just growing? So they're just buying up all this stuff because now they have this pile of money from the investors and they got to go buy. They're expanding way too quickly. Anyway, so the point is they buy it, they fire the employees. All of us who went there are like, we can play board games at our house.
Yeah.
You've seen my wall.
You got a wall.
I got a wall. And my
shout
wall.
out to all our guys out there, guys and ladies who have walls of games, because mad respect.
Yeah, and Tidewater Gaming Association at the Virginia Beach Library.
Oh, yeah.
They're putting up those walls. They meet, and they're just coming Anyway, point is, we all got games.
Good games. We love to play our games.
And we love to play the games.
It's better with each other.
We love that third space. And so the people who are around matter. And when you treat the employees that way, who had kind of helped create that environment, then the customers aren't going to come.
Right.
And then you get the social media blowback and the whole thing, and the place is still not open. And so you're like, man, it's over. So that was it's a bummer. Now, ironically, you can go across the street to Kavroom Gaming Shop. That guy there, he's been there, like he's been doing gaming shops in Hampton Roads 19 years.
Wow. Kavroom? I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
Very
Incredible.
cool.
It's over there right by Lynn Haven, right down the street from here, by Lynn Haven Mall. He opened up around at the same time. He's run a couple of different shops over the years, brought my son there on his birthday. Just incredible customer service experience. And, my son's really into the Pokemon cards. The thing about Kavroom is amazing is that he does it all, right? So like in the gaming community, you kind of have like the Magic the Gathering folks. You've got the tabletop gamers. You've got the D&D folks. You got the Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh card gamers.
Yeah, there's different types
And
of
then
gamers.
you've got
for
the
everybody.
and then you've got the Warhammer 4K skirmish people, right? And we all think the other ones are just absolute nerds, and other unkind things about their ability to interact with other humans, right?
Yeah.
So, and yet we all play with little plastic pieces.
Yeah.
So it's
Just different colors and different objectives, right?
yeah, but a lot of superiority of like, oh, you're a Magic guy. That I have a home. Okay, I don't. You have $900,000 in cards. I have a house. So good luck. With that.
You got to catch them all, though. You got to catch them all.
Yeah. Well, and just with like Magic the Gathering, a single card that they actually used to play. I mean, those run like $40,000. So a deck will cost you. Yeah. So a deck can cost you, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 just to get into the game. So it's very expensive. Anyway, my point is I'm here in Kavroom, he's got it all. Usually they're set up for like one or of those other games. And I'm kind of like joking around with the other. I was like, yeah, you got these, these Warhammer folks. And he's like, I love it. And so his shop is really for everyone. It's like he's got a little tabletop section. He's got a little, he's got the whole little section over there for the skirmishers. Big Pokemon card collection, Magic tournaments there. So he's really settled in for the long haul, 19 years, and he's been in a couple of different places. But yeah, that's another place that my son and I have gone, and that was really
shout out to Kavroom.
Kavroom, yeah, over there, and him just doing it forever. So
Yeah, incredible. For every missed opportunity is a hidden gem waiting to be discovered in Virginia Beach, especially. Benjamin, when it comes to the overall professional development sector, I'm curious because, like, one, I am a solo entrepreneur, so I don't really have a team, but leadership is important, not only just in the business sense, but also in our communities where, maybe we have, a local HOA, or it's our season to vote, or it's our opportunity to serve our families or other organizations as well. How do you see the part of, leadership development and professional development occur outside of the traditional workforce? And why is it so important to continue to develop those skills, even though, you may not be managing a team of people in, a job or business?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And, this is a discussion I have with my wife a lot. So she is a solo entrepreneur, runs Bethany Jacob Piano Studios.
Shout out to Bethany Jacob Piano.
Thank you for your business. Yeah. So she comes to me this all the time, right? Like, I come home from work and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have this problem. There's this issue I'm dealing with. I've got 6 or 7 people to talk with. She just don't want to put all of her business out on blast, but she's got some clients who will say some out of pocket stuff sometimes.
Sure.
Joseph's very difficult. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway. He didn't even pay me the first week. I had to follow up with his wife 3 times. Yeah. My wife texts me a lot. Sorry.
So what do you do when a client doesn't pay, right? So this
yeah.
is one thing. If you are on a team and you've got a client that's not paying you, you can talk to a bunch of different people. So you are that solo entrepreneur, that business owner. I mean, her business does well, but again, typically piano studios, one person, right, doing the work. So Same thing with real estate. So I think those professional associations, again, a lot of this was old school. A lot of this infrastructure used to exist, and now it is up to us to go and kind of like reinvest in a lot of these things and put the work into building our communities. So, you have the Association of Talent Development, ATD, in this area. That's an organization that's there. SHRM is a big one in the HR world, but a lot of these things just require you to actually go and participate in those kind of things.
Sure. And there's financial obligations as well to, pay membership fees and dues and such.
And a lot of them are relatively inexpensive. The biggest thing is the time.
Sure.
The biggest thing is the commitment to the time. And then when you have that event, are you going to go and volunteer to work the table at the event? Sure. That becomes the real things. Are you going to volunteer to make the association better because you care about these kind of things? That's where the real work comes in. But my whole point of this is that you have to go out and find that community outside of the like maybe your association, right? So there's some really great shout out to Wally at 757 Leadership. He's an incredible person who has put together like the Vistage Group, which is like a high-end leaders group or a high-powered leaders group. There's a number of these leadership groups in Hampton Roads, and Lead Virginia is one of them, and just get out into those communities and join one of them because you need running mates. You need people because you just simply don't have anybody to measure yourself against. And so you may be doing what you think is awesome.
Sure.
And you go in there and you're just like, oh, wow. It's like going to the gym, right? So you go to the gym and you're just like, you're hitting 40 pounders every day and you're just like, I am jacked. And then you see somebody walk in and they start with the 40s and you're like, daggone, they're smaller than me. It's just, it's some, 130 pound person just in there hitting it. And you're like, oh, what do you, I recently was playing volleyball on a team and 60-year-old guy out there moving and grooving in phenomenal. I thought at 42, I'm done. I thought like this is one of my last seasons. And he's like, he's still out there at 60. And I'm like, oh, teach me your ways, right? Like this is these things. So you got to find those people who are good, or you may be crushing it and you don't even know, right? So like you're out there, I'm doing bar dips, I hitting 50, 60. And then you see somebody who's like, I can only do 12. Like elite people are only doing 30. Wow, you're crushing it. And so you're just over there. You just think you're worthless. So no, you've got to have these running mates to be able to teach you. You got to find old, strong people if you want to be strong. You got to find old, rich people if you want to be wealthy. And you got to find old leaders. Because every young person, and I'm pretty young still, and I've been young recently.
Yeah, he is. I checked his birth certificate before we came on. Very young. Yep.
Super young. And so we all got ideas, right? We're all just like, yeah, just do this thing.
Just start a podcast.
Just start a podcast. Just invest in Bitcoin and you'll be a millionaire. Now the Bitcoin people are going to come for me. But anyway, the point
We
is,
had one on the show recently, made a lot of money, but yeah.
made a lot of money. Again, young rich people, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, I wish I was a young rich person. Shout out, hook me up. So the point is,
Some of your coins.
Yeah, give me some of your coin if you got extras. But when I was going to the gym in my 20s, the guy was like, older trainer, late, in his 60s, still doing 50 pounds with each arm, and he's like, there were so many guys. And there were so many guys at the gym that I knew, like, oh yeah, I used to be able to lift this much. And I was like, what happened? It's like, oh, I blew my hip out, hurt my arm.
Yeah.
Now they can't do anything. And there's still that same guy just doing that 50 every day, that consistency. And that's the kind of thing. It's like, yeah, there's a few people who are going to make money in doing these things, but that long, slow climb, there's going to be some people who are going to have these particular management styles. But man, investing in people, growing slowly, doing the right thing, these really unsexy, waking up and doing the thing every single day. That's where, and that's really what organizational development, learning development is about. So many times we'll come to a class and they'll be like, oh, we already addressed this. I was like, how many times do you brush your teeth? In fact, some people would argue brushing your teeth one time is absolutely worthless, right? What's the point of it?
Yeah.
But if you brush your teeth every single day for your whole life will be different. And that's what learning development is about, that every day. And so a lot of times organizations get bored with it. They want a big flashy seminar. They want a big moment, bring in a bunch of speakers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Bring in Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Yeah.
Bring in Tony Robbins.
Yeah, Tony Robbins.
Bring in Joseph Trejana, get them fired up about the real estate.
Fire
up the troops. And they're like, yeah, we did it. And it's like, that's like going to a little boot camp. It's like, going for a little weekend fitness boot camp.
It's a weekend high and then back to the grind, right?
It's that unsexy work.
So, Benjamin, where is the line then between innovation, right? Adapting to changes, building your own masks, and also remaining consistent? Because consistency is important, absolutely. But like, what happens when you can't go to work anymore because the government told you can't, and you have to like build your own masks? Where does that line come into play? Or is there a line?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you're like, and my whole tagline is like development for those who love learning but hate training. Because most people, if you're just like, hey, do you like learning new stuff? And they're like, yeah. And then you're like, okay, we have a training class. They're like, boo.
Yeah, right.
Right. So,
but the training is essential in order to learn, right?
It's essential. Well, it's a piece, right? So if you think of it as like a circle, there's like a third of it that is learning new material. And that's the one that everybody wants to sign up for. Teach me something new.
Right.
Unfortunately, the other two are a lot less. It's relearning, which no one wants to do, right? You'll eventually hear somebody at your job say like, I've forgotten more than you know. And that's why you're in this class, because you forgot it and you have to relearn it, right? That's the sucky thing. That's the downside that nobody tells you about getting older, is like you have to go back and relearn those things.
Right.
And then the third piece is unlearning, which is even worse. Like that experience that you had is no longer serving you, and you actually like things have innovated and changed, and the market has changed, and now you actually have to go unlearn something that you took 10 years to learn, right?
Right.
So you've got, learning new stuff, you've got relearning and unlearning, and then usually some piece of that is the pathway through growing your team through knowledge. But I think the best thing is like when it's working, the training department becomes the hub of innovation, because when you're actually like learning and developing people, you're bringing people in and you're saying, okay, this is how, like for us, this is how we lift people. This is how we lifting and positioning people. And then you have a veteran staff who's like, you're like, so show me something that you guys would do. Show me how to lift. And they're like, and they do it just a little bit differently. They're cradling the head a little bit differently. They're sliding a hand a little bit differently. You're like, why do you do that? You're like, well, and they have this reason because they got their 10,000 hours. And you're like, oh, well, we should have that. And then you go talk to other people, and then you find out all the vets are doing it. And you're like, oh, yeah, boom. Now we just innovated this thing. Now we can actually bring it in. The problem is that the best employees and the best companies are innovating all the time. Learning and development captures that innovation and then kind of standardizes it and then pushes it out to everybody else, which sometimes why we're not popular, right? So you got a branch that's like crushing it. They don't want me to come in and be like, oh, give me your secrets. Yeah. Because those secrets were so hard fought and so hard won. And now I can just go take them, put them in a seminar, and this other branch is doing just the exact same thing. Their numbers are up now. They're not the golden child anymore. So it can be a little bit territorial about those secrets, but that innovation is usually driven actually by the employees. Learning development just captures it, shares it, and canonizes it so that that knowledge doesn't walk out the door.
Wow. I love that explanation, Benjamin. I appreciate you highlighting that too, because there is a structure for learning that helps breed innovation, right? And without that structure, you just want to grow sometimes, right? Or the next shiny thing is the next thing you're doing, regardless of the ROI or the value or what it does to the individuals that you leave behind, right?
Yeah.
So you brought up another point too that I wanted to kind of like as we land the plane for our conversation here today. This idea of the next generation of business. And one of the things that I've loved doing on the show with the Discover Virginia podcast is being able to connect with individuals in what I like to call non-competing industries, right? So I'm not going to go interview 10 real estate agents because that would be bad for my business. But
I think it would be amazing because people would see that you're better than those 10. Just find the worst agents, bring them on, humiliate.
Yeah, okay, great. We're going to go over some sales scripting real quick. Yeah, Michael's going to record. Yeah, no. Not going to interview 10 real estate agents at the same time, but I mean, if you want to see that, like and subscribe and drop the number 10 in the comment section, I guess.
I love this. Bring on, I want you, I need you to go grab a couple of other like very bad learning and development directors from other companies, bring them on. And they're like, oh, those people.
It could be like a roast, like a reverse roast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you lock them in the room, like an escape room style, and then you have to like retrain them a certain number of time. Yeah.
Wow. This is, I will watch that.
I would watch that too. Simon Sinek reshapes 10 entrepreneurs into like great leaders. Yeah.
This is great.
Hashtag Simon Sinek. If you want to be on the podcast, I've emailed you a bunch of times. Okay. But yeah, next generation of business, because like you got folks who are, and I get it. You're older, you're tired, and you've done your work. You've done your reps, right? You're already buff. You're already fit. You're already lean enough to, go out and start another business tomorrow if you could, but you don't need to. You have built this flywheel that's generating the income you want. What do you say, Benjamin, from the leadership and professional development side, is the role of an individual who has already done their reps, has built a great business, a great flywheel, but now has, come to the maybe near end of their term or near end of their work life where they're getting ready for retirement? Is there any responsibility there for what they can give or bring to the next generation? And I'll put a caveat. No, I'm not asking you to give me anything, but I want to be able to help prepare the next generation behind me. So I need to know what to do next.
Yeah, I think you've got two things. One, it starts way sooner than this, right?
Yeah.
So you can become a different person at any point in your life. And I think that's one of the things that like learning development is about.
Sure.
Is that helping employees grow. And I have a manager who will frequently say, well, we can't teach that. Sort of, right? There's two problems in workplace coaching. One, in order to change somebody's behavior, they have to want to change, right? Like that's the first step of any kind of behavior, right? Like if you're tired of yelling at your kids or you want to lose weight, you have to say like, oh yeah, I want to change.
Right.
In the workplace, that rarely happens, right? You go to a team member and you say, hey man, the way you're talking to those meetings, the energy that you're bringing, you're really shutting everybody else down. People don't feel like they can share around you. That negativity that you're bringing about the project, you're killing us here.
Yeah.
They're going to spend the next hour telling you that they're the only one who does work, that they're the only ones. In fact, like if they weren't doing it, this whole place would burn down, right? And you're just like, no, like, right? So they don't agree that there's even a problem, right? They think their behavior is awesome. People engage in behavior that works. And so so in the workplace, you have a huge problem of getting people that workplace coaching because they don't agree with you. And then the second thing is it takes a long time to change, even once you want to change and you practice. So a lot of times in the workplace, we simply do not have the time. We don't have 4 to 5 years to grow you as a person. So while I believe everybody can change, the sooner you start thinking about passing that stuff off, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah.
But let's say you are in your late 50s. You've got this business. The responsibility that you have is to be open and to let people know and to be open and let those people know. And then our responsibility is to go out and seek those relationships. I mean, I think about somebody like who's an incredible mentor, but he learned from his mentor, who was one of the guys who took over Kiwanis like in the late or the early 90s when Kiwanis was going through bankruptcy. That's not something, I don't want to put them too much on blast. We love those folks over there, but it was a time. Jim Herndon is his name, and he went through and led that organization through bankruptcy, and now the family is back running it, and they're incredible. But Jim Herndon is an incredible mentor and was an incredible mentor to John Gray, who's the CEO of Union Mission.
Yeah.
And John became my mentor, but like that was up to me. like the great mentors, the thing that I've learned about mentors is that mentors are always available, but they will never ask you. The mentors do not go out and seek you out, right? Like,
Right.
but every time you ask, and I saw this over and over again with Jim and John, every time that John would ask, Jim would be available and he would go see him.
Yeah.
And every time that I've asked John to go to lunch, hey, what are you doing this week? Go to lunch. Boom, he's there. And then it's up to me to say, like, man, we're going through this. Like, how do you deal with like employees who are dishonest? What are you doing with that? And he's like, boom, boom, boom. These are my stories. This is how I handle this. Like, I'm tired. I want to quit, and I can't. I'm broke. Like, what do we do? Oh man, this is how you find
Still
it.
in my 30s. I got a long time to go.
How do I do this? Help me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's that thing where like the mentors are out there, and we cannot just sit there. As you said, you don't want anything handed to you. You can't just sit there and be like, here, mentor.
Right.
This is not. I think about Star Wars a lot in that story where he goes and he finds, and he's like, you are going to be my guy. That turns out to be Anakin. That turns out to be toxic, right? All the Sith Lords, they're always the one who are going out and finding the guys and developing them. And then the other guys are always coming to them and being like, hey, be my mentor. Be my mentor. And the mentor's like, I don't know, man. You're like, no, I won't, in a biblical sense, like with Jacob's, like, I won't let you go until you bless me. That's the attitude that you got to have with these men and women. I think about, somebody like Shannon Etzel, our CEO over at St. Mary's, been a big mentor to me, and just always that availability. And you're just like, again, yeah, she'll drop by my office and like we have a professional relationship, but that mentoring comes when you come to them and say, hey, I'm humble, teach me. Hey, what do I need to grow with? Teach me how to do these things. What would you do for me? Then those men and women who are mentors, they're going to find you. I'm sorry, I'm snapping on your. This is my first time again.
This is good, man. This is great.
Yeah, but that's how you do it. You have to go. One, you got to be in. If you go to the groups and be there, but as soon as you start asking, they'll appear. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
So for those individuals who are in that later stage in business, or maybe not later stage, they're just in the mentor availability stage, the main thing is to be available. And then for somebody like myself, I'll kind of put myself in this chair. If I'm looking to be mentored and to continue to learn how to grow and develop my business, it's my responsibility to go out and ask and to be available and willing to receive that type of information and possible criticisms and things.
Yeah, I think that's I am the wrong person to ask about like what the 50-year-olds should do.
Sure.
I just know like this is what I've seen. These are the people who are doing it. I mean, people like
from the
John
leadership
and
development,
Jim,
the gentleman who was reaching over and picking a individual up a certain way in the context of St. Mary's.
Yeah.
They weren't just like saying, hey, this is how we should do it. They're saying, hey, you've asked me, now I'll explain
Exactly. Yeah. And the great leaders, great leaders, and whether they have the title and the money and all of that stuff, they are just not going to answer questions that they're not asked. Yeah. They're too old, they're too wise, they're too busy, and they're too tired to just go. And that's how you know there's a real expert, right? Like I work with a lot of people and, in the medical field, and everybody is always trying to be like, I'm an expert. And the real men and women who are experts, you never have to, they just start talking.
Yeah, they don't advertise it. Yeah.
It's like you don't have to have, if you're jocked, you don't need somebody walking around being like, oh, I'm so jocked. You just see it, right? Like if you're just there, and that's and so, and you got to be available in those kind of things. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is like, they're not, you got to go to them and say, hey, disciple me. I am your Padawan.
Yeah, I'm your Padawan.
And then they're probably going to give you the Shrek treatment because you're probably young and dumb and annoying and think you know too much. I've been there. And they're like, okay.
I love that. The Shrek treatment. Yeah. Go away.
No, John's never done that to me. Yeah. And neither is Shannon.
Yeah. Awesome. Benjamin, this has been great. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Before we go, is there any final messages or words you want to leave with the audience with? I'd love to open up the floor to you as well as this camera.
Oh, this camera? I don't know. Like, we didn't get to talk about my number one thing, which is, and maybe you'll have to have me back on here, which is how to teach critical thinking. So this has been like my quest.
It wasn't the Hitch thing? Okay.
Hitch is a big one. Okay. I love Hitch, but Hitch is a whole different, what
do we think about the movie Hitch? Let us know in the comment section below.
Yeah, because that's a whole thing, because basically where we talk about that is that like humans are desperate for connection, but we're really bad at it.
Yeah.
And one of the great examples is in that movie where Hitch, you know, the guy's like, oh, she punched me in the shoulder. He's like, did you miss middle school flirting?
Yeah.
And when we work with kids, kids are doing all of these, what we call negative behaviors. There's so much stuff. Humans are just desperate for connection, and we're really bad at it. And if an adult will punch you in the shoulder in order to be able to let you know that they love you, how much more a little kid is going to do something annoying in order to connect with you. And it's up to us as adults to be able to teach them, right? You don't have to tolerate it, right? But you do have to teach them and downregulate your own emotions in order to be able to cross that bridge, because humans are desperate for connection. We're just really bad at it.
Yeah.
And Hitch teaches us that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Regardless of how well or will not it has aged, it definitely has some truth there. Yeah.
Or was it ever good? Some of that stuff.
Or was it ever good? Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so at some point we'll come back, because I think when everybody's like, no one knows critical thinking anymore, you can't teach it. It's like, well, some of we had to teach it. Anyway, I've been working on that method for a while of how to teach critical thinking. And
Yeah, we'd love to have you back. Let us know in the comments if Benjamin Jacob would be someone you'd like to listen to and talk to again. I know I would, and critical thinking sounds like a great part 2 episode for another day.
All right, great. Thank you guys for having me.